The US and Israel launched military strikes on Iran on the 28th of Feb 2026. We're now 3 weeks in, and this conflict is not just contained to the Middle East. Oil prices are surging, global supply chains are fracturing, stock markets are falling, energy infrastructure across the Gulf is under threat, and right now, millions of employees across the world are sitting at their desks carrying fear, grief, anxiety, and even anger while their leaders say nothing. I'm Payne-Powell, a fractional HR director and former Global Head of DE&I. I've worked across 16 countries over 25 years, and I'm here to challenge bad HR, the kind of HR that focuses on systems instead of people. I've led people through SARS, the 2008 financial crash, COVID, and more geopolitical crises than I can count. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that silence from leadership is never neutral. It's always felt. Today, we're going to talk about who is actually affected in your workforce, what the psychological and operational impact is, and exactly what HR and leadership need to do and not to do right now. By the end of this video, you'll know the 5 things that leaders get dangerously wrong in a geopolitical crisis, and the one action that costs nothing but changes everything. So let's start with what most leadership conversations miss entirely: the specific people in your workforce who are not just watching this conflict on the news. They're living it. We're talking about employees with Iranian heritage, those with families still in Tehran and Shiraz or other cities that have been struck. As of today, more than 1,400 people have been killed in Iran since the airstrikes begun, with nearly 19,000 injured. When your employee comes in on Monday morning, they may have spent the weekend calling home and not getting through. We're talking about employees with Israeli heritage and family. Iran has been launching waves of drones and missiles at Israeli cities. Tel Aviv has been struck, sirens have been sounding, and for employees with families there, this is not a news alert on their phone. It's an active daily fear about whether people that they love are actually safe. We're talking about employees from the Lebanon, where the conflict has escalated significantly, and from the Gulf states, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, where missile and drone attacks have been intercepted over their cities. Air raid sirens are going off in places people call home. These employees are not distracted. They are genuinely managing crises from thousands of miles away. We're talking about employees of Muslim faith who are watching a conflict with profound religious and cultural significance, and who may be absorbing anti-Muslim bias in media coverage and day-to-day interactions without anyone noticing. And equally, employees of Jewish faith who are carrying fear for their families and community in Israel, who may be encountering a rise of anti-Semitism in their own environment at work and outside of it. We're talking about employees with US military family connections, with dual nationalities that put them in complex positions, and with political and personal views on this conflict that they may feel entirely unable to express in the workplace when no one has created the conditions for that conversation. And beyond those directly connected, we're talking about every single person in your organization who is anxious about energy, rising prices, and global supply chain disruption and the global recession analysts are already warning about. I'll come back to the economic impact on your business in a moment, but first, the thing that most HR and leadership teams get completely backwards. I've watched leaders make the same 5 mistakes every time a crisis hits. So let me walk you through them so you do not repeat them. Mistake number 1 is assuming that no one in your team is affected. Iran has the largest diaspora community in the world outside of the country itself. The Iranian diaspora in the UK alone is estimated at over 100,000 people. In tech, SaaS, media, creative, the sectors I work with, international talent is so common. And you will have someone that's affected. The question is whether they feel safe telling you. Mistake number 2 is conflicting ethnicity for political position, and this is a critical one. Employees of Iranian, Lebanese, Israeli, American heritage did not choose this conflict, So don't hold a performance conversation with any employee from affected region and mistake grief or distraction for disengagement. Don't assume an employee's political stance based on their nationality, their faith, or their name. And don't assume two people from the same country or community will hold the same views. I've seen assumptions like that cause grievances that last months. Mistake number 3, making a performative statement and doing nothing. A post on your intranet that says we stand with all of those affected, followed by zero practical support, is worse than silence. Employees notice the gap between words and actions faster than the leadership team realizes. If you're going to say something, you need to back it up. And you do need to say something. Mistake number 4 is waiting for employees to ask for help. Most people will not ask. They will absorb their stress and show up, underperform. They could eventually leave or go off sick. Proactive support is standard, not reactive intervention after the fact. Mistake number 5, treating this as a 1-week news cycle. The conflict started on the 28th of Feb and it's still escalating. The economic effects, rising energy prices, pressures, political global recession, they will last longer than any ceasefire. It's not a one-off. Your people strategy needs to account for uncertainty, not a single crisis communication. So if those are the mistakes, what does good actually look like? Let me give you a clear, actionable framework, and I'm going to break it into 3 layers: immediate, medium, midterm, and long-term actions. So immediate actions for this week: brief your management team before you do anything else. Managers are your front line. They will be the first to notice changes in the behaviour of your employees, the first point of contact for distress, and the first people who inadvertently say the wrong thing. Get them a 1-page brief: what to watch for, what not to say, how to signpost support. Communicate directly and not generically. A mass email that says, we know that this is a difficult time, is not a communication. Write it as if you're speaking to one person. Acknowledge what is happening. Name the regions affected. Confirm what support is available and make it easy to access. Like activating your EAP. If you have an employee assistance program, remind your people it exists and how to use it. If you don't have one, there are several low-cost options that can be activated quickly. You can always reach out to me for support in that. This is a non-negotiable. If you have employees affected from these regions, check your policies. Employees may need compassionate leave to travel, to attend consular appointments, to support family members. Review your policies now so managers have clarities before they're asked. Midterm, in the next 4 weeks, create a space for conversation, not a compulsory town hall where someone feels awkward crying in front of 80 colleagues. An optional space, a lunchtime check-in, a Slack channel with set rules, a confidential line to HR. This signals the organisation is paying attention and that they don't have to navigate this alone. Monitor the economic impact on the workforce. Rising energy costs and inflation are already affecting household budgets. Look at your financial well-being support. Is it sufficient? Signpost to debt advice. Review any pan-play reviews in the context of cost of living pressure. Watch your data, absence patterns, performance dips, and increases in informal complaints, which always precedes to formal complaints. Start tracking that now. Use your HRIS system. In the long term, look at the psychological infrastructure. This is a live test of whether the people in your organisation feel safe being authentic and seen at work. If the answer is no, if people are masking, staying silent, performing while carrying serious stress, that's an organisational problem that will not be resolved when the war eventually is. You need to audit your DE&I framework for geopolitical coverage. Most DE&I strategies cover protected characteristics well. Fewer explicitly address how organisations will respond to geopolitical events that affect specific communities. This is a gap, so make sure you review it and add it. And speaking directly to founders and business leaders watching this, because there is a commercial case here as well as a people one. The IEA has already released 400 million barrels of emergency oil reserves. Qatar has warned that the Gulf energy producers may declare force majeure if the conflict continues, which would bring significant economic shockwaves. Global food prices are already rising. Analysts are showing slowed global growth. Your business is not insulated from this. Your suppliers may be affected. Your clients may be affected. Your team definitely will be affected. And the cost of getting your people response wrong is not abstract. A team running at 70% capacity because they're distracted or unsupported is a business problem. A grievance filed because a manager handled a crisis conversation badly is a legal and reputational problem. Losing a senior person who felt invisible during a crisis that had directly affected them is a talent problem. These are all recoverable, but they are far cheaper to prevent than to repair. HR is not just a soft department in a crisis. Tea and sympathy. HR is strategic risk management for your most valuable asset, your people. And right now, the risk is real. In my next video, we're going to go into specific language managers should and shouldn't use in one-to-ones with affected employees, because that conversation is where most things go very right or exceedingly wrong. Let me leave you with this one thing. I've been doing this work for over 25 years. I've sat with employees who were carrying things their organizations never knew about. I've seen the cost of that personally, professionally, and commercially. The organizations that get this right don't do anything complicated. They just make it safe to be authentic. They communicate honestly, they act quickly, and they understand that people don't leave crises behind when they walk through the door to start work on a Monday morning. If you're a founder with 5, 10, 20 people and you're not sure where to start with one conversation. Start with your most senior manager. Tell them what you know. Ask them to check in with the team. That is enough to kick it off. If you want to audit whether your HR foundations are ready to carry your team through sustained uncertainty and conflict like this, there is a link in the description to the Flight HR audit. It takes less than 10 minutes and it tells you exactly where your gaps are. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and I'll see you there.